Welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport.
Hello and welcome to Frontrunner Motorsport. Well, it is still a very slow news week, not a lot going on in motorsport at the moment. I could talk about the China Grand Prix and whether or not it should go ahead. With everything happening with the coronavirus, it probably should just, in case, be cancelled. Why risk thousands of people being infected and then flying back to their homes all over the world and introducing the virus to new nations, spreading it further around the world? But there are probably more complications than that. Or I could talk about how Hamilton still hasn't re-signed with Mercedes, but he totally will. All of this talk of him going to Ferrari is just A, desperate attempt to make up news when there isn't any, and B, a contract negotiation tactic to try and make Mercedes pay him more money. As I said previously, why would they split up? Mercedes has made it very easy for Hamilton to dominate Formula 1 over the last 6 or so years, and Mercedes have a very good driver to keep them up the top. It doesn't make sense for either of them to change that at the moment, when any new combination may not be successful for either. I was interested by Ferrari saying they would rather keep Vettel for 2021. Since the start of this channel, I have said that Vettel's heart no longer seems into Formula 1, and he should probably just retire in 2021 when the regulations change. I still would be completely surprised if that happens, but it makes his future interesting, especially regarding his relationship with Leclerc. Neither of these topics are particularly interesting though. In fact, I discussed my thoughts on each in a shared paragraph. And honestly, there isn't much going on. The Formula 1 lineup was decided months ago. Most of the fields for 2020 Motorsport has been decided, and there's only so much I can squeeze out of the Toyota Racing Series. But I did come across an interesting piece of news that I haven't really heard anything about until now. The Super GT lineup for 2020 has been pretty much filled out, and Jenson Button is absent from that list. Not surprising, as he won the championship in 2018 and didn't do much of note in 2019. But it made me wonder what Jenson Button would be doing in 2020. My first guess was probably a Le Mans drive or something. But he is running his own GT team, Jenson Team Rocket RJN, which is switching from a Honda to a McLaren for the Endurance Cup segment of the GT World Challenge Europe. They raced in the same series in 2019, but didn't score any points in the Honda NSX, driven by the likes of Philip Fromenreiler, Matt McMurray, Struan Moore, Ryan Ratcliffe and Ricardo Sanchez. No drivers have been named for 2020 yet, and I don't think Jenson Button is thinking of jumping in, but what caught my eye was how awesome the car looks. It incorporates the Brawn 2009 F1 paintwork with a Dayglow yellow on white livery, and it looks glorious. I would love to own a die-cast model of this car. In fact, it may convince me to part with my money and get one if they do release such a thing. It would look great next to my Pepsi Jeff Gordon Nascar. Jenson Button is once again working his links with McLaren too. He raced in Formula 1 between 2010 and 2017 with the team, and this car is really a depiction of Jenson Button's history in motorsport with the Brawn paintwork too. But that's not the only link to Jenson Button's past. The RGN Rocket part of the team name is actually the name of the karting squad owned by Jenson Button's dad, John Button, which had racers such as Lewis Hamilton, Will Stevens, Oliver Rowland and James Collado, as well as Button himself. It may be a homage to the past, but I wish Jenson Button all the best for the future and all the best in the tricky field of team ownership. But I hope we see him in some sort of race seat in 2020. As far as I am aware, he hasn't officially announced a retirement from all motorsport, and maybe we will see him in this very car at some point in the future. Anyway, this was just a quick one reporting on a small piece of news. As I said, not a lot is going on at the moment. I thought I would do something. But this weekend we have Formula E, Jaguar I-Pace, WRC Sweden, the final Toyota Racing Series round, as well as Asian Le Mans and the final round of Asian Formula 3. So I will have more to talk about next week, especially as the final race seats for the start of the 2020 Motorsports are completely finalised and sealed, liveries are released and the season gets underway. For now, thank you for watching, like the video, share it somewhere, subscribe and leave a comment. Most of all, look after yourselves and have a good one.